Thank you so much for being with us here today, Randi Zuckerberg. We really appreciate your time, and welcome to Oklahoma. Are you enjoying your stay so far?
Thank you. I'm really enjoying first time in this lovely state.
Well, we are rather fond of it ourselves, so we hope your time is enjoyable. Let's jump right in. You've had a really unique career that has spanned on both sides of the table, if you will. You've worked for Ogilvy, you've worked for a small business that is now a very large business, Facebook. What's the piece of advice that you've been given in your career that has stood the test of time, that is kind of carrying you forward as you start your own company?
Gosh, I've been given a lot of advice. I think the most interesting, useful piece of advice I got right out of college was to be careful what you become good at. And I learned this because I was that super eager beaver. I was like, yes, I would love to make 1,000 photocopies for you. And my boss kind of pulled me aside and was like, listen, I love how eager you are. This is amazing. But she's like, be careful not to get too good at being the photocopier because you don't want to get overlooked for the things that you're really going to be good for down your career. So that was, I think, one of the most interesting, actually real pieces of advice I've been given. I got definitely a lot of question marks from people when I left corporate America to go work for Facebook. I heard feedback such as, you're throwing your life away, are you a moron? Different things like that. Little did a lot of those people know that 3 years, 4 years later, they'd be mostly asking me for a job. So it's amazing how things come around full circle. But it's I've had some incredible mentors over the years, and just it's been really special.
You bring up an interesting point. Throwing away, I think, is the term you use, your corporate life, and so many people who start their own business, or at least go to work with a startup, are perceived to be doing that. What was your reason behind that? I mean, I know there was a relationship there, but was there something more significant that was going on in your life?
There was definitely some significance. I also think in corporate America, on one hand, you know exactly where your career is going to be 10 years from now. You know, if I'm here for 2 years, I'll get promoted to an account executive, and then 2 more years. When I went out to see the startup culture in Silicon Valley, though, none of that kind of 10-year structure or plan exists. No one has a 10-year plan. I doubt they even have a 10-day plan in Silicon Valley. And suddenly I saw this glimpse that I could have access to make decisions at a much higher level, or tackle challenges at a much higher level than I would be able to if I waited 10 years in corporate America. So for me, that was what was so exciting about Facebook. I knew it was a gamble. I thought it was a really good gamble given the trajectory of the company, but for me it was about the experience of learning and taking on things I wouldn't have been able to take on.
Is it possible today for a company to even try to brand themselves anymore?
Absolutely. I think that there's always a space for expert opinions. I think the more noise that's out there, the more those expert voices are paid attention to, actually, because people want editorial voices that rise above the clutter. So if that's why I think that kind of traditional media, even though I hate that word, isn't going anywhere anytime soon, even though a lot of people, argue what's happening in the traditional media space, because people really need those trusted voices. You look online and you see what all your friends are saying about the current events, but then you go to the New York Times, you go to CNN, you go to those trusted sites to see what's happening. So I think if you're a brand, an expert, a leader in an area, there's no time that's better than right now to jump in and share your thoughts.
You're going to look at the dictionary encyclopedia industry being completely overturned. What's the next industry? Is it education? Is that what's coming next?
I think it could be. I have my eye, if I had to take a gamble, on healthcare as one of the next interesting things. I think you're starting to see products like the Nike Fuel Band and the Jawbone Up that are making all of this metadata about our health seem very accessible and fun for the first time. And I think we're also going to see an interesting world of online medical records. And so for me, I mean, that's just my own personal opinion and guess, but I'm putting my money on healthcare.
Focus on healthcare. What would you say is the #1 obstacle to making that move quicker?
I think definitely privacy and the fact that it's going to take some time to get people comfortable with putting sensitive information online, although more and more we see people doing all of their banking online and putting their monetary information in, so the trend in society definitely seems to be going towards keeping all of our personal private information in the cloud.
Wonderful. We've got obviously a lot of students. I know that they wish that they could hear you speak. To all the Oklahoma State University students, to all college students, what advice do you have for them?
I think a few things. First of all is to, as they're putting together their social media presence, to think about not just tomorrow and that picture you're posting tomorrow, but your entire long, wonderful career that lasts in front of you. We live in a very interesting world where content is now archived forever, and where people are now looking at your Facebook profile, your LinkedIn, when they're looking to hire you. So it's very important to communicate the image. Every person's a brand now, and so you have to really think about your brand while you're doing your online. I think also, and this is maybe more towards women who are watching, but I just had my first baby. I have a 10-month-old son at home.
Congratulations! I did not know that. That's wonderful.
Thanks. And there's a lot of debate right now on whether, as a woman, you can be a really good mother and have a really rewarding career or start a company. And so just some words of inspiration to all the women out there that I think the businesswoman of the future can really have it all. With all of the tools that we have at our disposal, technology to work remotely, with Skype, with everything that we have. I think it is really important to pursue both a wonderful family life and an incredible, exciting career.
Have a little balance.
Exactly.
A little social, perhaps a little less media at times as well.
That's right.
So let me ask you a question though. You brought up the student's personal brand. So is a student who has a personal brand online at an advantage over perhaps a student that doesn't have any presence online?
Absolutely. I think companies that are looking to hire people right out of school, they're going to look for people who are good writers, who are savvy, who understand the online space. And if you've been able to build up 1,000 Twitter followers for yourself along the way, it shows that people are already listening to you right out of the gate.
Interesting. So you bring up an interesting point with regards to good, strong writing skills, and you have a really interesting background in terms of your education. Which is more important, business knowledge or ability to communicate?
I think communication. I think you can learn the business tools that you need, but I think if you exhibit kind of savvy and discretion in what you post, you show you're a good writer, but that you also don't just post inappropriate things, that you're very smart and articulate and have a good point of view. That's something I look for sure in everyone that I hire. Good advice, good advice. One last question. You kind of alluded to it in terms of what the future holds. If you had to make any other predictions, what would they be? Oh gosh, it's so. It's a wide open. We've only got a few more minutes, but it's so hard to think about what the future will bring that way. But I think one of the most interesting trends that we're seeing at the moment is the fact that there's a whole new job out there called community manager. This is a job that didn't exist even 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been a job that's created because of the rise of social media. So I know that in universities, when students are thinking about what am I going to be when I grow up or what am I going to do, there's now, don't limit yourself to just the careers that traditionally have existed. This whole new area of community management is based around having the skill set to be able to engage with people on Facebook and Twitter on behalf of a brand. And there's all sorts of, I think, new jobs and new industries that are going to be popping up. So I would say if you have a love, if you have a passion, there's a career out there for it. And, and if it's not there, invent it. Wonderful way. To give Oklahoma State University a little bit of credit, they actually have a course on social media, and part of that course is the design and development of community management program. Fantastic. For an effort that they have at the university. Way ahead of the curve. Well, following on the shoulders of giants. Anything else that you want to add? Thanks so much for your time, but anything else you want to add? Thanks. I mean, I'm just excited for my time in Oklahoma. I've met some great people so far, and I think, for any student, I know you mentioned that people would love to chat or ask questions. I'm very reachable online.
Oh, wonderful. So what's the easiest way to
Facebook
reach you online?
message, you send me a tweet at Randi Zuckerberg, and I usually try to respond or at least retweet almost everything I see.
Well, you'll be getting about 30 tweets in the next few months. I can guarantee that anyway. So,
awesome.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Star interviewer over here.
Forget it, yeah. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.